Yes, travel can be worth it to do something at least once or to get yourself from point A to point B to do something that you'd like to do. I've talked about before how traveling is overrated. I have nothing against doing little day trips as long as I can be home by the end of the day, if not for dinner, depending on what I'm doing. But anyway, this article made me think about that travel experiences that looked better online from Frequent Traveler by Chloe Caldwell. And I suspect this is Chloe here because these two faces are blurred out. Although these faces aren't. I don't know why. You can take a look at the main points up here if you'd like. But before we see what she has to say about the whole traveling experience and probably all the behind the scenes effort that goes into these travel these travel photos that look so great. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment what do you think about traveling, whether you also think it's overrated or whether there's way more story to the pictures that go up on the travel Instagrams than meets the eye. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations. Last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Anyway, let's see what Chloe has to say about traveling. Social media has a way of airbrushing reality, especially when it comes to travel. Translation: Water is wet. Many people plan their entire vacations based on viral TikToks and Instagram photo ops, often without realizing what those places are actually like behind the lens. I can relate. The Goodwill Hunting bench, yeah, there was no special marking indicating that it was that. I mean, the tour guide that I noticed pointed out to the tour group, and I had to wait so long to be able to actually sit down on it because at least some of the people who sat on it probably didn't even know that it was the Goodwill Hunting bench, and I really wanted to replicate the photo or the frame from the movie, which I'm going to throw up here just so you can see that I am guilty of doing this. The difference is I didn't spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to fly God knows how far around the world to get it. Getting back to the article, I've been lucky enough to explore over 20 countries and have been everywhere from the Arctic Circle and the European countryside to the Caribbean. I love snapping photos and curating videos of my adventures along the way. But I'll also admit that social media can make every trip look like a dreamy highlight reel with perfect sunsets, pristine hotel rooms, or bucket list adventures. Again, water is wet. Although I'll always be grateful for the chance to see the world, the truth is, not every moment is as glamorous as it looks online. And I'm guessing this is her visiting Hollywood Boulevard isn't as glitzy as it seems. As someone who grew up in the Los Angeles area, I'm incredibly familiar with every tourist hotspot in the city. As a product of the suburbs, I glamorized the idea of visiting Hollywood and immersing myself among those famous sidewalk stars. The truth, though, is that Hollywood Boulevard is packed with crowds, speckled with trash, and has lots of overpriced attractions and gift shops. If you want a good view of the Hollywood sign, I recommend going to Griffith Park Observatory instead. There, you'll get an up-close look at the landmark and sweeping views of LA. Again, I had a very similar experience with the Goodwill Hunting Bench. Like I said in my video about that day trip, I eventually got my photo recreating that frame from the movie. But still, I had to take a train all the way up to South Station and then walk from there to, well, okay, I went to Saunders Castle at first, but then I went to the Boston Common for a snack and then to the Public Garden where it was a Sunday afternoon, it was crowded. Next up, taking a gondola ride in Venice can be expensive. Venice has become one of my favorite cities for its dreamy waterways, cobblestone alleys, and vibrant atmosphere. I've visited over the past 2 years and have plans to return this summer. Although a gondola ride might seem like a Venice rite of passage, I have a hard time justifying a nearly $100 price tag for a 30-minute ride. I'm pretty sure the Swan Boat tickets for the Boston Public Garden are still in the single digits. Don't quote me on that, I don't remember. I didn't take a good look at the pricing last time I was there. My focus was on finding the Goodwill Hunting Bench. It may be worth the splurge if a ride is a must on your itinerary. However, it's also worth looking into the public gondola transfers, aka the trajecto, across the larger waterways that only cost €2, about $2.35 American. Well, I guess it comes down to how much you care about having the gondola all to yourself. Personally, I think a 50 times increase is not worth it for that, unless there's more to it than just going down the waterway. You'll be with a group of people for a short 3-minute ride, but you can still get a quick snapshot of yourself on the gondola. Yeah, it really depends on how much control you need or want. Like, if you need a private gondola to get a good photo for something you're going to make money off of, that's one thing. But it's a whole other story if you're just there for fun. Next up, Manoa Falls in Honolulu can get crowded, as can literally any tourist attraction. Sometimes, just because it's crowded and people don't know what it's about, like my experience with the Goodwill Hunting Bench. Other times, because everyone knows what it is and they want to see what it's all about. The Manoa Falls Trail is a lush 1.6-mile round-trip hike near Honolulu that leads to a 150-foot tall waterfall. It's a gorgeous trail I think is worth doing during your visit to Oahu. However, in my experience, it's not as serene as it seems online, and there will likely be crowds gathered at the waterfall's base and the viewpoints throughout. Reminds me of my experience with the Theater of Electricity. Both times I went on Halloween and Adult Night last month. As I learned, it doesn't matter if it's a bunch of kids or a bunch of adults. The Theater of Electricity fills up quickly, and if you get there too close to the start of showtime, you are going to be stuck in the back. Standing room only. Sorry, I just had to get that out there. Don't worry, next time I'm just gonna plan accordingly. Arrive at least 30 minutes before it starts and just pass the time at the Mathematica section. And then, if I see seats starting to fill up in the front row, I am going to set up camp there. Trust me, I've learned my lesson. And that's her at the Manoa Falls Trail. You're likely to have difficulty getting photos without people in the background, especially if they're swimming in the fall's natural pool. I only got a decent picture of myself in front of the waterfall because it started raining and everyone else left. I'd recommend going early in the morning to beat some of the rush, or going on a gloomy day when there might be fewer people on the trail. Also, keep an eye out for outlets along the way to find small and secluded streams. So basically, you'd have to compromise on the picture quality to an extent. Because if it's a gloomy day, I don't know if everyone, I don't know if the picture quality is going to be all there. I mean, it happened to be a nice day when I went to the Boston Public Garden, but it also happened to be a Sunday. Whereas I bet if I went on a weekday, it would be slightly less crowded. Okay, it was moderately crowded on Halloween, but I digress. Next section, the northern lights are much more vibrant in photos. Don't get me wrong, seeing the northern lights in Iceland was one of the best travel experiences of my life. However, the photos you see online often make them look like a much more saturated version of what they actually look like to the naked eye. More often, the lights are a faint haze of subtle hues. Yeah, it's probably the camera doing something with it. Because if I learned anything from college TV class, it's that cameras pick up details that the human eye often ignores. It's actually why makeup is still necessary for appearing on camera to some extent for professional TV studio settings. I mean, let me know in the comments down below how I look on camera without any sort of makeup being used to cover up the flaws that the camera picks up that the human eye ignores. Fun fact, it's actually part of the reason that Richard Nixon lost the 1960 election. During that first ever, or one of the first ever, televised debates, JFK won because he was willing to let them put on makeup, whereas Nixon was like, I don't want to wear makeup. That is too feminine for me. TLDR, Nixon looked horrifying on TV, which is why, what's his name? He voiced Fry in Futurama. Just gonna look it up. Fry Futurama voice. Billy West. Yeah, Billy West watched that, and the reason that he does the voice for Richard Nixon's head in that show with oh, the fact is because he literally thought Richard Nixon was turning into a werewolf when he watched that debate. True story. But I think it's time we get back to the article. Although photos typically appear more vivid and colorful in the in-person display, watching the colors dance in the sky is awe-inspiring nonetheless. And that's the end of the article. I tried to think of a Aurora Borealis joke like from the Simpsons bit, and I can't think of anything, so I'm just gonna wrap it up here for the video by saying, yes, travel can be worth it to do something at least once or to get yourself from point A to point B to do something that you'd like to do. Like for me recently, going to Adult Night at the Museum of Science, and before that, the Moonwalkers. Basically, take a day to go up to Boston, experience the things that I can't usually do. Moonwalkers, because I get to experience seeing the projections on all four walls. And then Adult Night at the Museum of Science was in the hopes that I could have gotten a front row seat to the Theater of Electricity. Unfortunately, I had to learn that it fills up no matter what. So, I'm going to leave it here for the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Again, type "water is wet" in the comments if you agree that most of what she said about social media being an airbrushed version of reality was kind of predictable from the get-go. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations, and last but certainly not least, feel free to join me in the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.